SBR Videos is sponsored by Sports Cash System. Click on the link below for more information. We are previewing Week 14 in the NFL here at SBR Forum Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We're talking right now with Tony George from TonyGeorgeSports.com, LockerRoomPicks.com, and his regular Sunday morning radio show on the Yahoo Sports Network. Tony George, thanks for being back with us.
Thanks for having me on, Peter.
You sound a lot better with your voice than you did last week. How did your picks go this past week?
I tell you what, college went good, NFL went bad. Had a Black Sunday. My wife enjoyed Black Friday. I'd enjoyed Black Sunday. Well, I didn't enjoy it, but did have a good on Sunday. But we had a big play on Seattle on Monday night, so a nice bounce back. And looking forward for a little redemption this week.
Okay, sounds great. Tony George, always look forward to your calls every week. Well, you talked about the Seattle game on Monday night, which was a bounce back for you. Great pick there. That was obviously a sharp call. And you are going to take New Orleans this week. That's the game in the NFL that you requested. Carolina at New Orleans. And New Orleans is a 3-point home favorite. The total's 45.5. And, you know, just looking at this, the first glance thought on this one is this is the bounce back spot for New Orleans. This one has New Orleans written all over it, right? They go into Seattle, get a blowout loss, a tough loss on a Monday night game. Now they come back. They're in the Dome. Carolina, of course, they've won 8 in a row, but a bunch of those games recently were pretty close. Now they go on the road facing a tough and maybe a little bit pissed off New Orleans team in the Dome. This game has New Orleans -3 written all over it, right?
Yeah, it sure does. It looks like a biggest trap line on the board, to be honest with you, this weekend, because that's what everybody's thinking, the same sentiments that you just displayed. But that being said, you got to take a look at the offenses in this football game. First of all, Drew Brees last week looked like a deer caught in the headlights on Monday night. He struggles, and the New Orleans Saints offensive line struggles against aggressive front sevens. And obviously Seattle has one. They've had some other issues with tough defensive lines, and I would have to say that Carolina ranks up there as one of the top 3 or 4 defensive lines in the league. Now you start looking at the stats, Peter, and I looked at this game up one side down to the other, and last year these two played, hooked up twice. The last game that they played produced 81 points, and the first game they played produced 62 points. The total in both those games on the lines last year was 53.5 points. We're sitting at 45.5. I don't know why the adjustment to go down was so low, because if you take a look at the defensive stats of these teams, especially Carolina, who have they played? How strong was their schedule? What offense did they shut down? They gave New England 20, should have been 27. You know, in their own house, a similar style offense as New Orleans. And you know New Orleans is going to learn from last week's mistake on Monday night. I'm telling you right now, the last 4 in this series has went over. I don't see the defenses dominating this game. I see the offenses of both teams dictating this game. And I see an over 45 here, over 45.5 right now as we're taping the show, as the only way to look in this game. I think the side plays a trap. The only thing I would do with Carolina on the side play here is use them in a teaser, get them at +9, get through the key numbers to 6 and 7. But my lean here is the over 45.5. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
All right, that's an interesting take, Tony George. Yeah, most people here are focusing on the spread. Some seeing great value with New Orleans at -3. Some, again, like you said, seeing that as kind of a trap line. At 45.5, it does seem like a little bit of a high total, but this year, you know, and both these teams this year are sort of like known for their defense. Everyone's talking about how, you know, New Orleans defense this year is a lot better than it's ever been. In Carolina, of course, their strength is still their defense despite some injuries. Those injuries might make a big difference here. What's your take on the defense of both these teams? You don't think they're as great as everyone discusses?
Well, you take a look at the offense that Carolina runs with a mobile quarterback that can get the ball down the field and stretch the field vertically, and they have a couple of capable running backs, and that almost mirrors the team that scored 34 on them on a Monday night. You know, and so you take a look at a spread attack against them, you know, Atlanta, you know, you take a look at their division. You know, Tampa Bay runs a power I formation because they can't run a West Coast because their quarterback's too young. You know, Atlanta runs a West Coast, or they line up in a power type scenario. They don't play a ton of spread attacks, and I think that Carolina is going to have all kinds of issues there. And you know what, you mentioned the word bounce back. Drew Brees is not going to stand around and score back-to-back weeks of 7 or 14 points. Right. Not going to happen. Not going to happen against this defense. Not going to happen in the, in this game. I think both teams are going to be in the 20s, maybe 20, maybe both exceeding, one team exceeding 28. I think the number's right for the take. I'm going to take it.
All right. Sounds great. Great insights. Tony George from TonyGeorgeSports.com, liking the over 45.5. Thanks.